Beast. This guy is a sociopathic, crazy mofo, but Holy White Phoenix is this one of the best action figures we have ever gotten. Now, Familia, many of you know I jokingly dislike Beast. It's only because of his history in the comics, because I think he has done some pretty awful, fiendish things. But listen, that is why we read comics, right? Because not everyone is perfect. Everyone makes mistakes. And I think most people think of Beast as that quirky scientist, as voiced by George Buza in the 90s X-Men animated series. And that's the Beast I love too. There's no hatred for that Beast. You know, hanging upside down, trying to cure the legacy virus, or having to die for our sins by going to jail, right, in the animated series. But that Beast is great. But the Beast in the comic books, he's kind of evolved and made some rather contentious decisions. And it all started for me. I will tell you the moment that as a reader, I dislike Beast. And again, this is divorcing any other incarnation of Beast, because again, I think the X-Men, the animated series Beast, in the TV show, he is great. No qualms with him. We love George Buza. But in the comic books, at the end of Avengers versus X-Men, when Scott is in jail after the events of the Phoenix Five, and Beast is basically like, oh, all these new mutants are going to have so much trouble in this world because of everything you did. And Scott is like, Beast, what do you mean new mutants? And Beast is forced to be like, yeah, I guess your leadership worked. The mutant race is now repowered. And Scott exits the facilities like this, doing like the big X symbol with his arms. And Beast is just an asshole. I mean, come on, this is your best friend since you guys were teens. You know that Cyclops may have made mistakes, but he wasn't motivated by malice. He was trying to save the mutant race, and he had put his faith in the Phoenix because he knew Jean Phoenix would come back to repower the mutant race. That's what I'm saying. So I thought Beast was pretty awful for that. But Beast during the Astonishing era was actually a very interesting character. And actually, a lot of the Astonishing era Beast that we see is a direct byproduct of Grant Morrison's New X-Men and Beast there. So here's this head right there as we continue talking about Beast. I mean, he looks really... Look at that snarl. He just looks like he is being pensive right there. Just picture where... You know, he's either having a panic attack or meticulously analyzing something. I mean, but look at the fur just like pops up. I mean, hands off to Hasbro. Truly. Hasbro knows how to make a good Beast. Let me switch the heads here. So the way Beast ended up looking like this, because this is what we X-Men historians would call Cat Beast. And so Cat Beast comes in Extreme X-Men when he fights Vargas, when Beast fights Vargas, and that's where Psylocke dies. Again, another reason why Beast is the worst ever. You let Psylocke die, come on! I kid, of course. But after he fights Vargas, Tess, Sage, jumpstarts his secondary mutation because she's trying to save his life. And so, you know, she sees an apparition of him looking more cat-like, and she's here like a ghostly image of what's to come. I do a lot of this history from memory, Familia. So please, if I don't get everything 100% right, please just let me know in the comments below. But Tess jumpstarts that mutant, that secondary mutation, which in the early aughts, we were seeing these characters have secondary mutations. I don't remember if Tess in Extreme X-Men actually called it a secondary mutation. It was only until we picked up in Grant Morrison's New X-Men where Beast looked ape-like, or where Beast looked cat-like, that we started calling it a secondary mutation, because Emma got her diamond skin, Jean could move things with her mind again, and Beast was starting to look like that. So one of the things that we saw during New X-Men is that Beast was very eccentric. He was a deeply insecure individual, and we saw that with what happened with Cassandra Nova. And part of it was because he was, you see, he has like four fingers there. He had to learn how to play the guitar again, how to live life because of his next mutation, this cat-like mutation. So by the time we get to the Astonishing era, I want to say that Beast is a little bit, I'm going to switch hands. I want to say that he's a little bit more secure with himself, but there is the prospect of taking the mutant cure. So when we think about the cure storyline, it started in Astonishing X-Men. And that is where we see that he tried to take the cure. And Emma was the one who picked up on it because she was here like, I couldn't help it, darling. It was like a neon flashing light. And he got really pissed at Emma. That's one of the misfires of Astonishing X-Men, was that I felt like they never got the Emma and Beast relationship, because one of the things that New X-Men did really well is that they showed that Beast and Emma were confidants and that they had the same intellectual humor, right? They used humor to deal with their pain. That's one thing that was very evident in New X-Men, when we hear that Beast used to prank call the Avengers Tower as a kid. That's pretty hysterical. Or even, and I don't like this, I take qualm with this, but in the context of the story and in which it happened, he told the media that he was gay during the events of New X-Men. And Emma's like reading a magazine with a cover of Beast saying, I'm as gay as it gets. And Emma's like, darling, you're not gay. And he goes on to say, I've been many things. I've been, a mutant. I've been blah, blah, blah. I might as well be gay too. And I believe he said that's Cyclops. And it was just, that's just how the character deals with his pain, with his insecurity. One of the more harrowing events for Beast in New X-Men was when Cassandra Nova possessed Xavier's body and forced him to go on the cat litter and wipe himself with his PhD. Man, if you ever want to feel for Beast, that's where you can feel for him. And then Beast comes in and starts beating him with a bat. So, Beast went through it. So if he's an awful human being, he's an awful mutant. If he's an awful mutant, he's an awful mutant. But Beast during the Astonishing X-Men era, that was all backlog to say that in the Astonishing era, he really, when he had that moment where he wanted to take the cure, he really rose above it. And that was a really great triumph that he didn't take the cure. So that's where he's at during the events of Astonishing X-Men. Now, one of the things that I didn't like about him, and where I've sort of kind of like, I'm like, oh, I thought that was a really dicky move, was when he brought the O5 back to the present. And he basically told Jean, he's here like, look at you. I didn't think it was so hard. And Teen Jean got it. She's here like, oh shit, I'm dead in the future. I take quarrel with the fact that he told a teenage girl that she was one day destined to die, and then lied to the entire rest of the team saying there is a mutant genocide. And there was no mutant genocide, and blame Scott for it. I don't like the closed fist hand. You guys can tell me. I like the other hands better, actually. So I'm going to swap out this hand. I'll put this one back. Let's talk about Beast in Marvel Legends form. Oh, right there. Oh, this is a perfect combo right there. Look at that. Great figure. Absolute great figure. Now, I always say I do a lot of this from memory, but because there have been quite a few Beast figures, and I may grab them and throw them into a bin. I'm kidding. There have been a couple Beast figures, so I have pulled up legendsverse.com here just so I can go through them with all of you. So I love Legendsverse. You type in the name of a character, and boom, all the figures in Marvel Legends that they have had just come up. So the very first Beast I remember, actually it's not here on Legendsverse. How interesting, not here on Legendsverse. The first Beast figure I ever got was the X-Men Danger Room box set Beast. And it was different from the single card Beast that was released at the time, which was, I believe, Wave 4. Let me just look right here. Yep, 2003 Wave 4. It was different because that Beast came with a lab coat. It's Malibu Stacy, just with a different hat. Don't be fooled. And I was like, no, I want the lab coat. So that was the first entry for me for Beast in Marvel Legends format. I'm going to have to check my archives back down in Florida to see if I have that wave for Beast. I don't believe I do. But the other beast that we would get later on is a Tech Gear beast, which is from like the X-Men classics. It was fun. I also don't think I bought that one. But the one that I was most excited for in that wave was the Cat Beast. Now, he was wearing a different costume, but the face. I mean, I'm going to overlay the image here. The face was 100% Cat Beast. So the reason why I mentioned that lab coat is that I took that lab coat and I put it on that beast. And that was my beast for years because we did also get an Astonishing X-Men beast back during the Nemesis wave when Hasbro took over the license for Marvel Legends back in like 2008, 2009. I believe that was 2009 because I was in our Hoboken apartment by then. And it was not a good figure. This is a significant upgrade. And when I go back down to Miami, I'll try to do a comparison with that. But Hasbro was still learning. When Dwight says that he had to make good with Emma, he also made good with Beast. Well, Emma and Banshee, but Beast as well. And so we got a movie car. We got a movie Marvel Legends Beast. And then we were kind of quiet on the Beast end. We didn't really have many Beast figures for quite a bit. And then we got the Caliban Wave Jim Lee Beast, which I love that figure so much. I thought that was such a great figure. And then of course we got the retro card Gray Beast, and that was fine. Neither here nor there with that one. And of course Dark Beast. But Familia, I'm going to tell you the best beast. And by the way, I'm going to say this right now. If I had to do like a top 5 best Marvel Legends ever, it would be that 2022 retro card beast with the lab coat. That beast. Holy frack, Familia. That is a perfect beast. And the reason why I've led to this point is because I think Astonishing Beast for the retro card, for the mini comic book wave, is because this beast with the mini comic book wave, I think this is a dang near perfect beast figure as well. Second only to that retro card 2022 beast. That's how good this beast is. And you should go buy him. This is absolutely great. I would have liked to have seen him with a little bit more accessories. And I think that was probably my overall qualm with Rachel, is that like, man, we're almost there. I mean, that we could almost hit that retro card beast and husk level if we just had a couple more accessories. And by the way, they could have just repurposed the accessories that we got with that 2022 retro card beast. Just give us a little like beak and scientific stuff, like scientific stuff. I haven't been to school in a very long time. Anyways, that's how I feel about this beast. I think he's great. How would I compare him to Rachel? Where would I rank him and Rachel? Him and Rachel are like neck to neck for me. There's him next to Rachel. I think just because of size, he gets it a little bit more because he has a lot more details on his sculpting, where Rachel's more on like the standard body here. Here he is next to Farrell. Now, I have some feels on Farrell that we will discuss, but there he is next to her. I still think he's a superior figure. And then here he is next to Deathbird. A good show of Marvel Legends. My Familia, we are living in the golden age of Marvel Legends. This is a golden age of Marvel Legends. All right, Familia, you let us know how you feel about these figures in the comments below. I want to hear your feels on Beast. Here's Farrell. I don't know if there's much to say about Farrell. I mean, why don't we just sneak in a Farrell review here? First time Marvel Legends. Welcome to the club. Her face is great. I'm like, her face is great. That is right out of a Rob Liefeld comic. I mean, look at that right there. I I don't know. Picking her up as compared to like Rachel and Beast, she's just kind of like, I don't know, she comes with like extra hands. I'm like, great, thanks. I don't like the purple. I'm gonna say it. I don't like the purple. I'm really sad. It should be pink. It should be a hot pink, right? That's what Flink on the podcast always says. Hot pink cat lady. She's not a purple cat lady. She's hot pink. And that's fine. I know sometimes the costume comes out in hues of purple, but if we're going for that original X-Force era, it has to be hot pink. The tail looks really good, that was something that we had discussed years ago about how the tail technology could work, you know. And like she has sculpting of fur, like right there, but then it just ends, and it's just smooth plastic, and that's fine. Like even like down here on her like feet and her knees, she has some fur, but it's largely just smooth. Um, and there's not much details there. I mean, it just feels like with Feral, this is where they opted. Oh, her tail came off. Put the tail back in. It just feels this is where the budget did not go, that they had to cut costs here, but again, and this is something that we can discuss because both these figures, this is based off of the Rob Liefeld era X-Force Pharaoh, and this is the John Cassaday Astonishing X-Men. And we were talking about this with Rachel, that I don't like artist specific inspired Marvel Legends. That's not to say, and I want to unpack that a little bit. It's not to say their looks that I don't like. It's more like making them look like a specific, like Chris Pacello is a very hyper stylized specific look. They did it well with Chamber. Chamber looks part of a Marvel Legends, but with Monet, which is based off of Terry Dodson, you can tell that Terry Dodson inspired style, and it looks different than other Marvel Legends, right? It's not even like you're doing all of Generation X and as inspired by Chris Pacello. You're doing Terry Dodson. You're doing Chris Pacello. Similarly here, but with these, I'm going to say they're inspired by John Cassaday and Rob Liefeld. However, they have a uniformed Marvel Legends appeal. So they did this well. This is where I say great. Well, again, I think Farrell has a couple of shortcomings, but this has nothing to do with the art. But let's talk about Beast. This is perfect. He's based off John Cassaday. You can see that they took what John Cassaday did and put it into action figure format. Whereas Emma, with the John Cassaday inspired art figure, you can tell that she was based off A, rush panels, and B, it's a specific look for Emma that is not translating into Marvel Legends too well. So this is an example of it translating to Marvel Legends very well. All right, that is my rant, familia. Let me know how you feel about these figures here. I can't wait. I mean, she's coming straight down to Miami with me, and I'm going to put her with the rest of X-Force. She may not be hot pink, but I'm still glad to have her. Drop your feels below and how you feel about these figures. Ring that notification bell, hit that subscribe button. Thank you all so much, and we will see you later.